Hello and Shabbat Shalom, heading into Shabbat and also heading into Erev Pesach. Very, very special Friday afternoon. Hope that everyone is preparing for both preparing for the beauty of Shabbat, like we do every week, but also the preparation that is probably happening around everyone's home right now for our first night Seder together. And how wonderful for us to be able to celebrate together, to be with family and to be with friends, and to continue all of our annual traditions of opening up those Haggadot and having the crumbs fall out from the year before, from the matzah, and the stains on our Haggadot, and all of the tablecloths and all of the extra things that we put out on our tables and Seder plates. Hope that the preparation for all of this is going very, very well. Clearly, as we think of Pesach, we think of our freedom. We think of the Exodus. We think of the fact that God delivered us from slavery, delivered us from Egypt, from Pharaoh, and that in that expulsion, when we leave Egypt, we transfer into this group of slaves into a people, and we do this together on this beautiful journey, and we end up at Sinai. We end up with 10 Commandments. We end up in the land of Israel. And everyone gets to do Pesach the way each and every one of us want to do Pesach. That's the beauty of Pesach. That's why it's the number one celebrated Jewish holiday of the year, because it's at your house or at someone else's house or a friend's house or a cousin's house. And you get to do it. We each get to do it our own way. There's one sentence, though, that is vital, that if you have not been saying these years, I invite us to say this year. No matter how long your Seder is, whether it's 10 minutes, all night, cover to cover, just a few minutes, just until you get to the food part and then not doing the last part, doesn't make a difference, because it's Pesach and it's Pesach in your own home. But every one of us should really make this one particular statement. That in every generation, in each and every generation, a person is obligated to see oneself as if they themselves left Egypt. We have to ingrain that deeply into our DNA, appreciate the fact that we were part of that group, even though it's in the Bible, that group that it's in our DNA, that in every generation, that's us. Every generation, a person should feel this obligation of seeing oneself as if we left Egypt. That's the part of freedom that we must connect to, as Pesach is, of course, our epic story of freedom. The Reform movement for years has been adding different pieces to the Seder, to the Seder table, to the area around the Seder table. And so on this Shabbat, on this Pesach, I invite us to maybe add a couple of different things as we think of freedom and how complicated those thoughts are for us this year, particularly when we think of those in the Ukraine. So on this Shabbat, I invite us to perhaps put an olive on our Seder table. The olive, of course, coming from the olive branch, coming from the story of Noach, from the story of Noah and the ark, where the olive branch symbolizes peace. So invite us, if you'd like, to place an olive on the Seder plate to remind us and think of those who are not free, that we can think of them and perhaps collectively bring freedom together. Also, in support of Ukraine, perhaps on our Seder plates, a sunflower, because it is the official flower of Ukraine and also a main export of Ukraine. And also, perhaps also on our Seder plates this year, some coffee beans, because the coffee might be able to remind us and to wake us up to think about all the things in our community that need our help, and all the things in our community that surround us that we need to be aware of, so that we are awake and aware, particularly to the rise of anti-Semitism and the rise of hate. And there is no place for any of those at our Seder tables when we think of freedom. And so I hope that this Shabbat, and I hope that this Pesach will be filled with freedom, will be filled with fun and with family and special time together. I hope that our Shabbat will be filled with all of that as well. Our Torah portion this week is actually the Torah portion that connects to Pesach. It's its own Torah portion that reminds us of our connection to Pesach. And so tonight, no services. We hope that you will be at someone's home for the first night of the first night Seder. And then tomorrow morning, we will not be having our 8:30 Zoom service. Instead, we will be having our first day Passover festival service. That's going to be at 10 a.m. And is in person. So we look forward to seeing you there. So Shabbat Shalom and happy Passover to everybody. And we look forward to seeing you in these coming days of Pesach as we get to celebrate our freedom together.